Hey guys, Mr. James here from the Kenai Community Library coming at you with another Let's Draw. For today's episode, we're going to a time long, long ago in a galaxy far, far away because we are going to be tackling the Mandalorian and adding some shine and talking about hard edges and soft edges and tonal values. So for today's drawing, you're going to need a sheet of paper, pencil, eraser, and maybe some Q-tips to help us with some blending. All right, let's go ahead and start drawing our Mandalorian. So for today's drawing, I want you guys to go ahead and orientate your paper horizontal or side to side. And we're going to be drawing a portrait of a Mandalorian. So we're really concentrating on the helmet and getting that Beskar armor shiny. And so to do that, we're not going to be overly concerned with composition. But if your paper is horizontal, I'm just going to start by offering some lines right down the middle. And I'm going to be using a Sharpie marker so you guys can see it at home. But you guys can use pencil, and these are just guidelines to help us with our portrait. So step one is, it's okay if they're a little scribbly too, but I'm just going to offer a couple little scribbly lines going right down, vertically down the center of your paper, and then this gives me placement of where my Mandalorian figure, where the head is going to be. And it kind of divides it, and it makes it pretty easy to draw a helmet this way. So now I'm going to take, and from here, right about in here, I'm going to start to make the helmet come down. So we're going to do a pretty large looking helmet here. And I'm going to use my hand, your wrist, as a swivel. Now I'm just putting in some guidelines, so they're going to be a little bit scratchy here. But that's okay. That's just a sketch that we're doing here. Because most artists don't just start with a perfect line and a perfect line. They are sketching as they go. So you can already see it's kind of sketching. Now this side, I can't use my hand as a wrist unless I move my paper. But because my camera is set up and everything, I'm just going to eyeball this. And I'm going to just bring this maybe... I kind of like that, and I can darken and clean up my lines a little later, but that looks pretty good. Okay, so what I want to do next is I have this in place here, dissecting. Notice how I didn't come down to the middle of the page. I just started and went a little ways down. Now, one distinct difference between the Mandalorian and Boba Fett, or a different type of Mandalorian armor, is you could tell that Mando's helmet is a little bit more curved. Boba Fett's kind of comes up and then is a little more flat topped at the top. So we're going to make sure that we make those differences pretty distinct. I'm going to go ahead and offer up some additional lines here. And that first one I want to do is just going to come, it's kind of sketchy, but I'm going to bring it all the way over, maybe to about right here. Hope you guys can see these lines. I'm just sketching with a marker here. And this will help me get some things in place. So right here from the start, I want to go ahead and offer up, this is extremely different from Boba Fett's helmet, and that is that Mando has a little bit of a kind of ornate line going down the middle of his helmet, and then we're going to kind of make that a little straight line there, a little straight line here. Try and match that. So another thing that this dissecting line helps us with, since we're drawing a helmet, we are making it fairly symmetrical. You guys know what symmetrical means. It means it's whatever I'm drawing on this side will be pretty even or matching on this side. If you drew a line right down the middle, both sides will be very, very similar. Of course, it's going to be a little bit different when we start to add our tonal values. And I'm going to put a little bump because this sticks out a little bit. Just like this for my sketch. And then I'm going to come, I think I'm going to add a little line here. It's beveled. It's got a little edge, and I'm just going to add a little, almost like, I don't know if you guys can see that at home, but it's kind of got a little a little bevel to it, so I'm just adding some lines to make it look beveled. And all I did was make a rectangle here, and then I just added these little lines where my corners went to, just to make it look a little beveled. So from here, I want to add another line coming up, or curving with this one. I'm going to add another line. This is kind of scratchy here, but I like it so far. And then we'll clean up those lines. And then I want to go ahead and add the visor line. That's going to be a little further down to about right here. And you can see how I'm not making it perfectly straight. I'm curving everything up. I'm going to do the same thing on this side and kind of curve it. I'll clean up those lines. It's just kind of sketchy. But let's go ahead and add that visor. So I'm going to put a little mark here. I'm going to put a little mark on this side. Notice I did not go all the way to the edge, but just close to the edge. I didn't go all the way to the edge. And then we're going to bring that line. I think it looks to be about right here. And you can see it's got a little curve to it. I'm going to put another line. I'm going to make that even right about right here going across. Just eyeballing it. You know, as I draw this, since we don't have the colors to go with it, now one thing I want to point out right here is you can see that I have this kind of ornate, beveled kind of top of his helmet right here. Well, these lines are a little bit to the outside of that. So if you were to go just a little bit to the outside and go straight down, that's where these start. So it's going to be right in here, straight down, right in here, straight down. That helps you with where to start and stop. And then these lines do not go straight up and down, but they have a little angle to them, and this one's going to have a little angle, which, again, a little different from Boba Fett's helmet. Subtle. It's subtle differences. But the cool thing about that is I think it kind of has a clone trooper kind of look. So I went down what looks to be, I would say, almost equal distance here, maybe even just a little bit longer, but it looks to be about the same distance there as here, just so you guys are aware. And then I'm going to put a little angle here, I'm just kind of going quick here, and a little angle here, and that helps us with placement. And then here, I want to, I think right about the top of this top line here, I want to put a little embellishment, a little angle coming out right there, and we're going to offer that as the outer edge. I'm going to bring that almost straight down, just like that. And then this comes up, which is a pretty big difference. So there we go. I'm going to do the same thing on this side, right about where that is. Maybe even a little higher. I'll go here, bring that down. Now this time I'm going to kind of make it almost look kind of like an ear because it sticks out, protrudes out, and then comes in, and we'll kind of deal with those mechanics of that here in a second. Just sketching it out, and then I'm going to bring this down. And all these lines are subject to change. We are just sketching it. So that is my very quick sketch. Now, let's go ahead and just use some darker lines to make this stand out a little bit more. I'm going to use a pretty dark line here. And we are going to make it shiny today. So first step is let me go over some of these lines, the lines I like, which I do like these lines. I think it has a good look to it already. So I'm going to go ahead and go over these lines. See if I can make sure I stay on my lines. That's pretty good. We'll do this side. Pretty good. And put this bump in here. Now you guys with erasers can erase this little sketch line that I have here. Go ahead and follow this down. Try and keep my lines straight if I can. this over. Bring this down. Bring this down. I kind of got off of my lines a little bit, but that's okay in the end, as long as it kind of has a general look to it. Now I'm going to go ahead and darken these lines. There. Here. This line kind of touches the bottom of that part right there on his head, and then I'll draw that visor. Take a look. Does your helmet look too long and vertical? Does it look too short and too crunched together? Or does it look like your proportions look about right? Now's a good time to assess that and make any changes you need to as I kind of refine my lines here. I think mine looks okay. I maybe could have made this a little bit longer, but right now I like it, so I'm going to go with it here. Lines. That looks pretty good so far. Let's get the outer edge of the helmet in place. I like how shiny his helmet is. That's what kind of makes him stand out a little bit with all that new armor. Okay, we're going to add. We'll refine this a little bit because there's some issues we got to take care of over here, but I'm just going to go ahead and finish up my lines. Okay, so there it is, nice and refined here. Now, I don't like just a floating head, so I definitely want to ground my figure out, and then we'll add the details. So I'm going to come in quite a bit. I'm going to say, if you bring this straight down, we still want to come over. So I'm going to say right about in here is where I want that neck. So I'm going to put that little line right here, maybe another mark. He's got all that fabric on underneath that helmet, so we're gonna do that. And then, maybe I'll put a little fold coming over. That looks pretty good. And another fold here. I kind of like that. And from here, we won't make it as thin. He's kind of turning his head. We'll start it right about here. Same spot, but I'm just going to make it come over and down. Maybe come over again. Come down. I'll make it come over. Maybe this part goes up because it's like a part of his cloth. And we'll define those cloths a little bit. But so now we at least have some shoulders here. And you don't want to make his shoulders too small. I mean, this is the helmet right here, so his shoulders have to be somewhat wide. You don't want to make them go all the way across, but just imply something right here. I think instantly that helps ground my figure right now. Okay, let's go ahead and finish out some lines. So I want to go ahead and draw some lines here. That way I can see it on this side. So I think I'm going to start right in here. See how far down I came? Right there. Not so close, but a little bit further down. And I'm going to bring this curve all the way to that point right there. I'm going to do the same thing on this side. This side is definitely easier since I'm right-handed. Because I can swivel my wrist. Always makes it just a little bit easier. Okay, so let's go ahead and take care of some of these mechanics I was talking about. I want to bring a line down right there, and I'm just going to bring a line over. And then I want to bring another line down a little further. I'm going to say right about there and bring a line over, just like that. And now I can bring the last line down. So I kind of came at an angle there, and I'm going to bring another line down like that. And we'll take care of shading that here in a little bit. I can go ahead and connect this little line right here. And on this side, same thing. I want to bring a little line. I'm going to draw a little rectangle right here. just like that. I drew a little rectangle. I'm going to do a line coming down here. This is how I have my shading planned. And I'm going to bring another line coming down just like that, real skinny right against the edge like that. Okay. This line right here, I'm not going to worry about this line right here because you'll see it in the end. There's going to be a lot of shading there. So now let's go ahead and add where it kind of divots in. So I'm going to put a little line coming down. I'm going to do the same thing on this side. A little line coming down. And then I'm going to connect this all the way to that point. Do the same thing on this side. So it has that kind of indented look. I kind of like that look. And then this side comes over like this because of the indent. And this side comes over like that. So to me, it does kind of have a clone trooper feel. Oh yeah, and his chin, his visor actually comes all the way down to here. So it's a real thin little line right there. I was kind of studying that, how that works. Okay, so we have our proportions in place. We have our Mandalorian in place. But now let's talk about hard edges and soft edges, and let's change mediums. I used markers to draw this so far. You guys at home are probably using pencils. With that in mind, if you want to get Q-tips for this next part, we're going to make this nice and shiny. And I am not going to use a pencil just because it would take a long time working this large. So I'm just going to use a charcoal stick. If you guys have charcoal at home, certainly welcome to use it. If not, pencil works great. So step one, now that we have, you can use your pencil for this and then smear with a Q-tip or a piece of tissue. Might be better than your finger just with pencil. So I'm going to go ahead and put a line that kind of is parallel, which means the two lines won't touch. And I'm going to put it going right up the edge right here. And I'm just going to make that a little bit dark. Right in here. And I'm going to do the same kind of darkness right down here. Put a little bit of dark. I want there to be kind of an oval right here of shininess. Right in here is going to be an oval of shininess. So I'm going to leave that little oval right there, and I'm going to start to just kind of fill this in a little bit dark. And then I'm going to make this kind of a little shape of shininess too. Just another kind of oval right here. Kind of darken this. I'm not making it super dark, just kind of a little bit dark. And I'm going to bring this over and make another little oval right here. Isn't that funny looking at first? It's funny looking, but in the end, I think it's going to offer us a nice little shine. So now that I have that section done, I want to take my Q-tip and let's just practice a little bit of smearing here. I'm just going to run that over the top just to make it a nice blurred edge. This one I'm going to maybe take away that just that stagnant oval and just make it a kind of a shape right here. I already like how that's looking. Looks kind of shiny, and this part I might fill in a lot of this right here. But you can see how that Q-tip really helps with the smearing. But this edge I want to leave hard, so I'm not going to smear that edge there. I want that nice straight line right there. Okay, so there's a little shine. Now let's try something similar on this side. I'm going to do a parallel line going all the way down. Kind of fun. And then I'm going to offer not a oval right there. I'm going to make two little circles. I'll put one little circle right there, maybe another little circle right above it, right here. And then I'm going to make maybe another shape. Just make this a little darker here. Maybe bring that over. I think I'm going to add a lot of highlight right here. And I'm just going to bring this up. And maybe make this dark. So look at all that. Kind of got little circles right here, and then this kind of organic-y shape right here. And it almost looks like a curved rectangle, and I have a little divot right in here. I'm going to take that little divot, and I'm going to offer a little bit more stuff going on in here, just using my Q-tip to smear it. I'm just going to smear this here. So far, I think it's kind of starting to look a little shiny there. I'm going to go ahead and kind of fill this in, make it look a little blurred, but again, I'm going to leave that as a hard edge. And right now, we are working on making something that is two-dimensional, flat, the substrate, our paper, and we're going to make it look three-dimensional. Okay, these little circles here. Okay, I like that I left that white. Let's go ahead and add, I'm just going to take some of this powder here on my Q-tip, and I'm just going to darken the top of this and bring that down. And I'm just going to fade that down like so. That looks cool. And then I'm going to just maybe make this a little bit lighter right in here. Right there, but I'm going to leave this side light. Just going to blow off some of that dust there. Now I'm going to go ahead and darken a little bit right here. And make this bottom part dark. It's dark because it divots in and the light must be shining from above. That would cast that shadow right there. So I made those dark, and I'm going to fade this up and make that dark and dark. Okay, so far so good. Now I want to go ahead and take and make this look like a divot, so I'm going to bring this line, and I'm just going to stop short to make it look a little white at the top. So I'm just going to put a little bit of charcoal on the top of that second line down and smear that up. And then I want to go ahead and offer a little bit of charcoal all along this side here. But I don't want to touch that line I was just on. I'm just going to try and make that look. I'm going to offer a little bit of darkness coming right here. Maybe we'll carry that up and we'll make that a little darker right here too. So it's almost like a mark came down, so we're going to make that look shiny right there. That's kind of cool. And we'll do the same thing on this side. A little mark right here. Maybe a little mark right here coming down. Again, we're just trying to make shines. And then just kind of lightly fill this in. But by offering a little bit of graphite or your pencil there, using your graphite pencil, and filling this in lightly, just lightly. Don't push down too hard. Just you're lightly filling this in. The darkest dark is going to be the visor, so we're not making that. We're not making this really dark. We're just offering some level of darkness. It's a tonal drawing. There we go. And I'm going to smear this just to make that look a little bit more. So you can see some shines are coming down. It's starting to look real shiny now. Before we fill in the visor, let's go ahead and finish our darks here. So we're going to make this dark coming down. And you know what? I'm going to just keep this kind of dark going over. But all of this is going to be, since that's divoting down underneath in the helmet, this is going to be dark. Not the darkest dark, so I'm not pushing super hard. And this is going to be dark. Not the darkest dark, but probably the second darkest dark. And let's go ahead and kind of make sure that's nice and even. So I'm going to just run my Q-tip over the top of that. You guys shouldn't have to worry about dust forming, but with this charcoal, I get a lot of that charcoal dust here, so I'm going to kind of lightly blow that off. So far so good. We're going to go ahead and kind of smear this over, and I'm going to make it kind of smear just coming over to the edge here, right about to here. I want to leave a nice white edge coming right down the side of this helmet, just to make that look kind of three-dimensional. So you can see I put a little parallel line right there. Smear that coming down. And then I'll put another little smear mark coming down right here, just to make that look like there's some shine going on. Okay, looking kind of shiny. Let's go ahead and darken this too. So all of this, I'm going to just put a little dark in. You guys will do the same thing with your pencils. We're going to lightly smear that there. And go ahead and darken this. Looks good. I left that edge light. And then right here, I think I want to go real light right here. Just a light. And with your pencil, just don't push down hard and make that nice and light. So I made that a light gray is what I did. But I'm gonna put a little shadow, just a little curved shadow, and make it a little bit darker on the top part. I think that'll help. That just will make it look like a shadow's being cast on this top part from this overhanging helmet part. And I'm going to leave that edge hard right there. I can even make that stick out a little bit more. If you guys want to use your eraser, you can kind of lightly even erase that section just to make that stick out a little bit more. You can always just use an eraser there to just kind of clean up edges that you want to be nice and hard. I like that so far. So this side's not going to be nearly as dark because this has most of our darks. So I'm going to go ahead and just go parallel right to here. And bring that down. And I'm not going to put too much more lines right here. Maybe a little light dark line kind of coming down right here. Maybe a little bit of darks right here. And then I'm going to end up kind of just lightly putting in some darks. I'm going to do the same thing right here, just lightly pushing down on my pencil. In my case, my charcoal stick here. And just lightly pushing down right here. And let's go ahead and just kind of clean that up here. And we are getting there. It is almost done. Nice and shiny looking. There we go, almost done here. So I'm just going to kind of finish this part right here after a little bit of cleanup here. Looks nice and shiny to me. That shiny Mandalorian armor. And now let's go ahead and tackle that visor. I'm going to put a little mark right here to represent how dark this section right here. I'm going to push down pretty hard now because this is my darkest dark. And I want that darkness to go right under that line right there. I think there's going to be a few parts that aren't as dark, so I'm going to put some dark lines right here, some dark lines right here, because it's still a visor, so it's still got a shine to it. And then I'll start to fill this in. And I'll fill this in. And I'm going to use my Q-tip here to clean this up. You guys at home will just be using a piece of tissue paper, works. There are all kinds of great tools. There's stubs and tortillons that artists will use to help them smear. Or Q-tips work great. If your parents have some Q-tips and they're willing to let you use it for your art class, I think Q-tips work really, really well. I'm going to make this look a little bit lighter right in here just because it's going to be just to mark. That's a visor right there. All right, a Mandalorian looking shiny and menacing. And let's just top it off with a little shadow on this side. A little shadow right down this edge here. Looks good. And then let's just put a couple little shadows here. I'm going to leave a line right there separating where that is, but we got to somehow ground our figure, so I'll just put a few marks here just to represent that he's got some kind of fabric on right here. I might even put all of this dark since that helmet's kind of filling it in. So we're going to just kind of fill this dark here. So when you're working with a tonal drawing, you want to look at where your darkest darks are, here, where your lightest lights are, in here, these shiny spots, and then establish that so you know where those are, and then you can make your values a little bit lighter, a little bit, and that all takes a little bit of practice, knowing that, you know what, I need to not push down as hard with my pencil to get it a little lighter. We're just going to put some marks here, make it look like it's folded fabric. This will be the cloth, he's got kind of a cloth wrapped around his neck, so we'll just add that. I'll just put a little bit of mark. This part's going to be going maybe up and down. And let's quickly I'm just going to do a little light fill, pushing down a little bit, just to match that helmet. And we just worked on a tonal drawing together, you guys, and I'm super excited about it. Let's go ahead and clean that up here. Let's make that look a little darker. I'm just going to clean this up, and I'm just making it look kind of like fabric here, just kind of running my charcoal over the top of it here. And just kind of cleaning that up, make it look a little darker here. And that didn't take too long. Hope you guys enjoyed drawing a Mandalorian, the Mandalorian with me here. I'm going to go ahead and sign it. I'm just going to sign it small. And the date. There we go. So the last step I would take if you guys were using pencil is, odds are you could have put some fingerprints on there. If you did, the final step is to take an eraser and just start to clean up your edges. So I'm going to just take a little bit of time and clean it up. But I hope you guys enjoyed adding tonal values to a shiny surface, particularly this Mandalorian helmet. So you guys practice your drawing there and practice getting your shines in place and working on this. Feel free to pause the video if I was working a little fast there to get all the shading in. And I hope you guys enjoy it and have a wonderful week. You guys take care. Bye.